Starting
This
now.
meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to Global Trainer Online. Always exciting, interesting meeting. I always learn something from it. And I would like to present now Julianne Merlo, who is speaking now as president and then as the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Michelle, for your very enthusiastic way to trust in the other person. The most challenging way to live in the next years will be how will we educate ourselves. We know since many centuries how do we need to be domesticated or educated, or maybe to have some way to get a job. At the end, we are retired. But we, as a global trainers online, we know that the education is very important beyond the schools, beyond the buildings. It's very important to keep alive. We have here very young people as Animesh, middle-aged people, and people with the youngest added in their human being. So welcome to this community in order to be better and be a better Toastmaster and trainer. Welcome to our guest. Let me ask Animesh introduce himself. Where is he from? And welcome, please, Animesh.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Animesh. I'm a member of IITS Toastmasters Club, Area E1 District 98, which is basically Southwest India. And so I have been a Toastmaster for the last 7 months, and well, it's been a great journey so far. So this is actually my second online meeting with Michelle and Julie, and I don't know, my third online meeting. So that's all it is for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Animesh. Welcome.
Thank you.
And let's welcome also Mark Worthy. Please introduce yourself.
Mark, we cannot hear you.
Excuse me. As I am a member of several clubs. I'm in transition and will be joining GTO, Global Teachers Online, and Michelle and I are working on that process.
Thank you, Mark, and welcome.
Also, by the way, I'm in Querétaro.
Also in Mexico.
Yes.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
Please, Magda, please briefly just give us some a little about you.
My name is Magda. M is short for Magda, and I'm living in Auckland, New Zealand, and I've been a member of Toastmasters for just over 3 years.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And now, please, Nick, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Nick Lakhani. I'm calling from England. I've been a Toastmaster for 2 years now. I'm at Warrington Toastmasters, and I've been VP for the 2nd year now, and I'm also acting VPM. And I'm looking for an online club that fits in with my schedule and also my ambitions as well. So thank you very much.
And Nick, I just want to say you've got the most beautiful accent.
Thank you very much.
And Jeremy, welcome. Please, our president, Graham Cairns, could you give some words to this community?
Hello, everybody. I'm still choosing my background, which is why you've probably got my image. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm an area director here in Brisbane, Australia, and my area conference literally finished a few minutes ago. So I am just arriving. Hello, everybody. Yes, that's all I can say.
Thank you, Brian. And now I'm changed the role as a Toastmaster, and I introduce the core team for this meeting. Please welcome to our timer, Philip van Dijk.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Philip here in Sydney, Australia, and it's a welcome to you all. As you may see, I'm going to be using the Toastmasters timing device, which comes up in colours and letters. So I'm keeping very smart track of exactly what's happening as far as the time is concerned. As we move into other parts of the session, I'll keep that up. So I need the Toastmaster to indicate to me what the timing of all of the little segments are, and I'll keep track of those as we move through the meeting this afternoon. It's coming up to late afternoon for me. It's just gone 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a beautiful day in Sydney. And thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, for the introduction.
Thank you, Philip. And now let's introduce our grammarian, Brian Dodd.
Oh, am I the grammarian? Okay. I will be looking for the good uses of English. Now, it can be New Zealand English, South African English, English, or any of the varieties in between. And I hope I don't have to count any audible pauses. I'll give you a report back at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Brian. And now I want to introduce our training topic. In this case, is Julie. Please.
Excuse me, Mr. Toastmaster, do we have a word of the day, night, afternoon?
I think so. Please, Brian, do you have one in your pocket?
Yeah, motivation.
Thank you. So let's motivate to this entire people here in this room to continue using this word. And please, excuse me, Julie, could you share what kind of dynamic you have for this part of the training topic? Julie?
You're still muted, I think, Julie.
You asked me to begin table topic instead of...
Just explain the dynamic.
What will be table topics?
Yes, just okay. for the guests, please.
Our table topics today will be about tricks and treats, which is the theme of the day. And in plus, I have added pathway training topics.
Thank you, Julie. So let's be motivated using these tips and tricks in this session and beyond this one. So we have still a new guest adding to this meeting. Please, Hermin Garobo. Could you introduce yourself briefly?
Good day, everybody. My name is Hermin Garobo. I'm from the Philippines. I'm based in South Korea right now. I'm a member. I'm one of the newest members of WeT Storytellers Online. And yesterday I was invited by Toastmaster Michelle to add this group. And so I'm very happy here, and I want to see and observe what goes on in the meeting. Thank you for the chance.
Thank you, Hermin. Welcome. We still have two guests, Darren Worming. Please, could you share with us where you're from?
Hi everyone, it's Darren Warrington again. I've been to a few meetings with you guys. I guess I'm here again to observe again. So thank you.
Thank you, Darren, and welcome. And please, Chief from Chief, would you mind to introduce yourself?
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure.
Yeah, hi, guys. I'm from Taiwan, and I'm from District 67, and I haven't been to the online meeting for a while. It's such a pleasure to be with you guys here.
Thank you and welcome. So, most of all, we are ready to hear our first special speaker, Julie Curtis. She's working now in the level 4 elective from the path management, the pathway motivational strategies, working the project manage online meetings. Her evaluator will be Brian Dodd. Brian, do you have the objectives for this project?
For Judy's project, no, I'm not been clued into that.
Okay.
So Julie will have to give her own, and I will pick up on that.
Okay, I'll share with you in this moment. And let me introduce, ladies and gentlemen, somebody who has been very motivated person. She's to motivating other persons to take their path, the way that they can start or continue learning. With us, Julie Curtis, with the project Motivating Aseptic Division. Motivating in an aseptic division, Julie Curtis, with a time of 20 to 25 minutes for our timer.
What motivates you? Outside awards or inside satisfaction or learning? I hope you can hear me and help me. What motivates me today is that I have to offer 3 workshops in the next week about pathway. And I am not yet sure, but one at least for sure, 1 hour, a whole hour, I will have to speak to a rather skeptic audience who is not sure if he wants or not to begin pathway. Last area meeting, I heard one of the presidents tell me, and he was a pathway guide before, we have 2 more years. Why do we have to hurry? I would like to try to share with you, if I can, my keynote pictures. And one to begin telling that we cannot wait for the storm to pass, the pathway user interface to be perfect. We have to learn to dance in the rain. I would like to ask you, before I continue, how many of you don't know anything about pathway? Any of you? Can I see you? Give me a tell me, no, I never heard about pathway. Julian never heard about it? Then I will try to show something about it, a minimum. So let's go further. Here are the paths that we are offered now by Toastmaster International. A brand new program which is there for every one of us, and we can use it now. Every one of us. All the paths have different levels. You see those levels and those stairs are the steps I have to go up and home to my apartment. Not always easy, but at least at every level I can stop and have a little time. Now, some of you asked me, how many speeds are in a path? It depends. There are 10 required speech, as you can see in these pictures. Mastering fundamentals and learning your style levels has, in fact, 5 + 3, 8 speech, even if they are only 6 projects, you can see. Increasing knowledge has 1 project, which is called here in dynamic leadership. It is required negotiating for the best outcome. But then it has a total of 12 elective projects, which are called elective because you can elect a minimum of 2, but you are allowed to open, to save, to read, or even as I did last time in my last pass, give every one of them. So I would say in total in a pass, when we get one, we get 37 projects, which is a lot. We just have to use them. Now, everyone, perhaps between you, got already at least once in Toastmaster International. But before we choose a path, we have to decide which one to choose. And in my opinion, which one we don't want to choose. In my opinion, for a newcomer, you have to avoid those who finish with high performance leadership, which is for all of us experienced, seasoned, it says. Toastmaster, okay, but not for newcomers. We can choose a path by answering question, and then Toastmaster will tell us which path they think it is best for us. But if we don't want that, we just have to click under it and choose a path we really want. Now, here comes my contribution. It is really mine. I observed that the biggest problem Toastmasters, new or old, have, that when there is a pop-up window and Basecamp is full of pop-ups. It comes small, first of all. We have to stretch it bigger to see. And then very fast, it can go behind. I never will forget that woman who said, I don't like pathway because I don't know where it goes. I have something and it disappears. So what to do? The window not to disappear. Don't use windows. Use tabs. And that show you how you can open in Macintosh, but you can do it in Chrome, in IO, in many other browsers, and just put them in tabs, and then you see them on near other. And open a new window full screen. My son came to me the other day and told me, why don't you open the window? You have just to click on those one of the small rounds which are the top of your window, and it opens up big. And then from then on, my pathway life was different. Others complain that there are a lot of steps to go to the path, which is called transcript or educational transcript. And the shortest way to go to your transcript is to go to Toastmaster International, log in, and then to go to welcome Julie, or welcome Rumi, or welcome Hermin. And then it opens up, and right under your address, it tells you how many paths you are enrolled in. And if you are already enrolled, if you had already chosen one, and then click, go to your transcript, and you are there. Now I would like to show you one of the most annoying features in Pathway. And that feature is those, I would say, ghosts. Instead of clicking on the tutorial button, you have to go under it and choose the gray and click on there. And believe me, it is worth clicking on tutorial and resources, because there you find not only video tutorials, but fillable evaluation research, project descriptions, and so many more. But someone, when I published yesterday, this told me, I clicked on that tutorials and I never figured out that I had to go under. So I don't use it. How can you learn about how to use Pathway Basecamp when you even cannot open the tutorial and resources? And believe me, there are so many yummy things there, and that are one of my tricks and tips. Go there and spend some time, because you will find wonders. Now, let me go back to the path. As I told you, there are 5 paths. And in the first level, there is an icebreaker. It is a little bit more better described than in the CC icebreaker. And just to tell you fast, for those who object, why should I give an icebreaker again and again? I will tell, we have more than 4 minutes about our life to tell everyone. And besides, we change. The second is the most not clear, but very, very important project, which has 3 different tasks. And I'd say 3 different speeches. First, we give a speech any style, any subject we want, and listen carefully to the feedback. Second, in another meeting, we incorporate that feedback in our speech and give it again. And then, after we understood how important a specific feedback is, we evaluate someone. And that are the fundamentals, in my opinion, and also, of course, that is why it is called mastering fundamentals. The third speech, which you can give before the second if you want, project, not before the second speech, before the second project, because any speech can be given, any project in any order after the icebreaker in a level, is research and presenting. My small children, grandchildren, knew when I asked them something to open the computer and look for an answer. I did not have that reflex until I go to research and presenting. And then I learned how to do it. Here it is me giving an icebreaker in a family environment in France last year this time. And they were all listening. I told them a story about my great-grandmother's childhood and introduced them to our family. Now, after you give a speech, like you see I have given before, you can go under the bottom of the window, which is called Select to move to another section, and go to assess your skill after. And assess your skill after is the way you tell Basecamp that you finished the project. Once you understand that, you have no problem to close and finish the project. But you have to answer to every small question, and there are as many questions as small rounds. And this time, you don't have to go with the big arrow, but the next, until you arrive. I recognize this project applies to my life outside Toastmasters. Once you understand it, you have no problem like I had when I began. I was stuck. I did not know. I answered one of the questions, and then I got to the big arrow. I didn't know I have to go one by one. I have a blog. My blog is called Pathway Experience, blogspot.com, and I write every day. I try to answer questions to each of you. And that is my last slide. And it is about Pathway. And it is telling, do not hesitate to begin and go into Pathway. Even if you continue another older manual also, because once you understood a small thing better than someone near you who needs it, you become an expert. And they will look at you and think you are an expert. And when you begin to tell people advices and advices, finally you really become an expert. Not only because others think you are, because you learn on the way. Because finally all the trainer knows that the best way to train something is by training some other. And how long I have spoken until now? Can Philippe tell me? Thank you. There are levels and levels of telling about pathway. One level is going down to the grits, to the small things which are annoying, which you have to understand. Another level is a higher level, where you speak about change. And that is how I begin my pathway journey. I wanted to learn about pathway, and then I realized pathway is one of the biggest changes in Toastmaster, and I have to learn about change and transition. So I begin to study transition. There are books about transition which I bought and which I publish and which I have not near me, so I cannot show you now. I will show you in the table topics. But in that transition book, I learned that every new thing which comes begins with an end. Something ends. We don't like ends. We like beginnings. We like beginnings when we want it, of course, not when it is imposed to us. So let's try to see how we can reframe it and think of pathway like something we wanted. And we want to speak about it. We want to train people to use it and show why it is so important. And that picture, which I think I showed you before, was sent to me by my daughter. She told me that, of course, I know that she teaches 6-year-old children in America. And they all got in the classroom a Chromebook. I asked, what is Chromebook? So she sent me this picture you see here. So now, small 6-year children use computers in order to access information. We are not children, and we have to learn also, because in our work is needed. But I have a better way to finish this speech. I'll tell you what happened in a cold winter day. The wife got a cold, and the husband went to work and called her, "How are you, my dear?" "I am not well. My window is frozen." I'd like to give you an advice then. Warm up some water and pour a little lukewarm water on the window. And then take a small hammer and click, 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 the window will open. An hour later, the husband called. "My dear, how did it go?" "Your advice was all wrong. My computer didn't like the water. And when I clicked with the small hammer, all keyboard went away and my window cracked. Mr. Toastmaster.
Please give a big round of applause to Julie. Great ending to her speech. Thank you, Julie. You are a great speaker. I enjoy a lot. You got all the attention to us with this topic and the stories that you added. So it's time to continue with our second speaker. She's somebody who trusts the other in order to be better. She helps us to go beyond our boundaries, exceed always the limits, or invite us to do it. She's Michelle. She's working at the Dynamic Leadership Path, working in the level 2 introduction to Toastmaster mentoring. Her evaluator will be Mufid. Yes.
Mr. Toastmaster, I think that's Graham's introduction you're reading. Mine is from the special occasion speeches. It's on the chat. Oh no, I only sent it to Mufid. So it's special occasion speeches, project 4, presenting an award, and the time is 2 to 4 minutes.
Oh, thank you for the correction. The topic, sorry Mufid, so it's time to change some about it. Okay. So I introduce you now, Michelle?
Mufid is raising his hand. Oh, and we can't hear him.
We can't hear you, Mufid.
Maybe if that's going to be a problem, Graham, maybe you can be the verbal evaluator.
I'm certainly happy to give a verbal evaluation, yes. And so you're doing the present an award? Yep, I've seen this one.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. With us, Michelle Alvalin, the topic, the title, Stories Behind the Word. Stories Behind the Word, Michelle Alvalin.
Thank you so much, Julian. And Graham, thank you for standing aside for this. It is not really a speech. It's more of a presentation of an award. This is a real presentation because I have been trying to find the right timing for this. But the person that I wanted to award this to is either busy doing something else or it's not at the same meeting. And finally, she's here. And the best thing is she just delivered the demonstration of why I want to present this award to her. So before any further, I want to have a two-pronged award. First, the Passion Award. I want to give this to Julie Kertesh because she demonstrates passion beyond anything else I have seen. The passion that she shows for Pathways is almost, I almost think it's romantic. It's love. It is, she has this love for Pathways. She has said this, and people can say things, but not mean it. In her case, I actually see her starting to breathe more rapidly and her eyes flash and she gets so excited when she talks about Pathways. If you were watching her throughout her speech, you saw that. And her passion, her enthusiasm is contagious in a very positive way. She has probably, we have no way of gauging the exact number, but I would dare to say that amongst all the Toastmasters around the world, I dare say that she is probably the single most potent force for good. She is probably the person who has persuaded more Toastmasters around the world that pathways is something, if not to fall in love with like she did, at least something to explore, to go down the different paths. And she goes a step beyond that. Instead of just talking about it, she shows it. Her daily blog post, Pathways Experience, the last time I checked, I think it was well over 70,000. She's going to correct me. I'm sure it's now over 85,000, which is also her sexy age, 85. So that actually brings me to the third reason why she definitely deserves this award. She is my single most powerful example when somebody goes, that's only for millennials. Pathways doesn't work for the older people. And I go, how old are you talking about? And they go, well, you know, the older people. And I say, would 85 be old enough? And that just changes the tone of the conversation. People are so amazed and they lose their reason for saying that, oh, Pathways is just for millennials. When they hear that here you have an 85-year-old who is on her 7th path, and it's not just doing this at, you know, cursory, but actually taking each and every elective now on the path she is on. So I would like to present, I can put it through my screen, but I would like to present this award to Julie Kertesh for Pathways Excellence. Let us all give Julie a really big round of applause. And mute yourselves, please. And let's give her a big round of applause.
Congratulations, Julie. Congratulations. And thank you for the time, your passion, your enthusiasm that you share and keep us motivating during this journey in our lives. Because it's not just in Toastmaster, it's about our life. Thank you for touch my life and our lives. So it's time to continue with the second part of our meeting. It's about training topic master in charge of Julie Curtis. This is your meeting for you.
So training topics, pathway training topics. I would like your advice. How you would present pathway to an audience of seasoned, old or new or young or double-aged, but very reluctant people. How the training would go or begin. And that question goes to Graham.
Madam Training Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests, funny you should mention this. I'm in fact giving a workshop on Introduction to Pathways on Wednesday night to one of my clubs. They've faced some difficulties actually getting into it, but they're not going to be a real problem. I suspect it'll just simply be a matter of saying to them, okay, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, this is how you do it. A more difficult club that I'm dealing with is actually not in my area. It's a club that involves a serious number of older members. In fact, 3 of the members at the last meeting I was at had not the current Toastmasters badge, which of course looks something like that. No, these were the old plastic badges with the crossed, the globe of the world and the crossed gavels, and they are not willing to do away with those badges despite the fact that that's really old school. So the point that I make is that they don't want change. They don't like change. They don't see the need for change. And quite frankly, I'm reluctant to say this, but in a couple of cases, I expect that they will simply no longer be doing manual or path projects. I mean, certainly I expect them to continue to contribute to the club. Certainly I expect them to continue to do table topics and to provide evaluations, but they won't be able to evaluate the Pathways projects. They won't be able to evaluate any of the newer members, and so they will become more and more marginalized. It's not something that I like. It's not something that I can help. I'm doing my best to try and encourage them to at least do their icebreaker so they have an understanding of the process. But at this stage, sometimes you can lead a horse to water, but it's just going to go, nay, nay, I'm not having anything to do with it. Madam Topics Master.
My second trainer, pathway trainer topic is asking how you would introduce your pathway to an audience very foreign from you, which you don't know, and where there are several different levels of knowledge. And that question goes to Mufid if he can speak.
Let me test first. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's it. So good. Right. Can you repeat the question again, please? Okay, for the Toastmasters, everyone guests, good day. In fact, I passed that information, but that experience myself, where I spoke to some people who never had anything about pathways, and I was meeting them for the first time. And I had to start with a question. Now, the first thing is, what is the most thing that they might fear in their life? And of course, answers came in different ways. And then I cut them short and said, I think death is not the first thing that comes on the top. Then I started leading them through the training and how things have to be revised and changed. Then I spoke about the number of competencies the conventional Toastmasters had and how many competencies are covered in the pathways. Then I took an example of 2 pathways where the competencies priorities have changed, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 4, 2, 3, and whatever. And then started to show that how can 2 people of the same profession have different needs. So because of the different needs, you have the liberty, you have the flexibility to choose whatever that comes to you. And believe me, the effect of that was very much motivational. 3 of that group joined Toastmasters within 2 weeks of that speech. And I think that is a success. Now, what we learn from this, that wherever you want to talk to people, don't consider whether you know them or you don't know them. It's the idea is, how do you present your case to them? Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. My next trainer, Pathway Topics, would ask how we would persuade, motivate someone who did not yet begin Pathway to do so. And that question goes to Hermin, who I think is not yet on Pathway.
Thank you for the question, Toastmaster Julie. Do I come loud and clear? Can you hear me loud and clear, Toastmaster
well.
Julie?
Very well.
All right. How am I going to motivate somebody who's not yet in Pathways? Perhaps I'll use a story. Perhaps I'll share a success story of somebody who was initially skeptical about moving from the traditional manual to the pathways, and tap in, or yes, tap in into the motivation. Perhaps I will share to them the gamification elements of pathways and the social media elements of pathways that were integrated into the whole pathway system. I will show them that they could actually get badges and earn points or certificates as they go along a pathway that they have chosen, and share to them that I could use this as a proof of my professional development and personal growth as well. If I'd be able to do this and tap into their intrinsic motivation and motivate them or persuade them to do the same, because if I can do it, they can also do it, and perhaps that will be effective. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Hermin. I hope you motivated even yourself this time. I think that pathway was designed, not I think, I have listened to Pat Johnson telling. One was retired people, the second was people whose English was not first language. Both groups I belong. And then they were the young professional and the middle managers, and there was someone else, I don't know. But what is important, of course, is telling a story. I agree completely. Now, I would like to ask another question. What was the motivation, because we are speaking about tricks and trips and motivation, of the early pioneers like Brian, who began Pathway even before Pathway arrived, even before it was given to us? How could you train people and show them what is Pathway before Pathway was introduced already? Brian? Please open your...
Yeah. Well, I'm very good at doing research, Madam Topics Master. So I researched. I listened to speeches that were given, like Pat Johnson when she delivered a speech in Kuala Lumpur about that, the progress that we're making. Previous to that, got emails asking me if I wanted to be a founder, or whatever it was called, and then a pathways guide and that type of stuff. Ambassador is the word I'm looking for. So I went on the internet, and I didn't have any inside knowledge. Nobody gave me any inside knowledge, except once Pat Johnson mentioned something about the manuals being online. And that's the only clue that I had that the manuals were going to be online and not printed out. Other than that, I didn't have any advance on it. So I went on the internet. People were putting information on the internet almost from the day that they rolled it out, when it was still the revised education program. And even after in Kuala Lumpur, I don't think they named it Pathways. It was still the revised education program. And I was giving speeches to the clubs about that and gleaning the information as I went along. When I did see Pathways for the first time, I thought, wow, did I ever get that right? I was about 90% right in what I gleaned out of the internet from, and this included speeches given in different district meetings and stuff like that were recorded and put on the internet. And eventually I got some screenshots of what was going on. So it was like doing a jigsaw puzzle. I just loved it. But I will tell you that story at another time when I have 20 minutes. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master, Training Master.
And then, of course, another example of someone who is not so young and embrace completely pathway. But young students also embrace it. And Brian proved it also. Also, the next question would go for someone who works with students. And that is the next question goes to Mark. Do you use a pathway or the learning of pathways for students you coach around you?
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. I most, excuse me, I most definitely use elements of Pathway to reach my students. They love it because it is online. They can relate to it. I'm making a concerted effort to establish online connections at universities, because if there's one thing a student has, it is a PC. It is a cell phone, iPhone. And this is a way in which other students in other parts of Mexico can meet one another, and we can exchange ideas and utilize. As a matter of fact, several of my students are participating in a competition tomorrow, and to prepare them, I needed to use pathways to hone their skills, to act as a means for motivation. And this has been extremely beneficial for me. And upon closing, I use it in the workplace. My professional clients have seen it and they enjoy it very much. Thank you for your question. I appreciate it very much and yield to you.
And the next question goes to Nick, our guest. I would like to know which part of pathway, if you are already on, as I think, you like the best. Which one you would like to speak in a training to others?
Okay. Thank you, Madam Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. I really like the motivational strategies. I picked that path. When I actually did it, when I actually picked it, to be honest with you, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know why. It just felt right. I got out of bed one day and I thought, yeah, okay, let's do that. We didn't really know very much about pathways. But I think the advice that I give my members right now is take the test, take the assessment, take it 2 or 3 times, but then go with your gut. And for me, motivational strategies mean something. It means that something to me, it means something to somebody hearing it. Just the phrase, motivational strategies. It actually means helping somebody achieve something, helping them get up and do something. Also, strategies means to actually have an overview, have a holistic view of it, and so, but then be ready to dive down deep where you need to actually go and perform the projects. So that way, I felt that it achieved what I wanted to do, which was to help with my profession, my work, and also with my club. And because I am the figurehead for Pathways, and I want to motivate my members to go and achieve in Pathways. Now, to be honest with you, I've been learning more about Pathways now. We've got 2 or 3 people who have achieved level 1, 1 person level 2. The people are making strides in that. And the really good thing is, I'm learning more about the other paths as well. And one of the reasons for for me wanting to look to join an online club is that I want to actually open up a new path and do my icebreaker again online and, do something else different, but to actually increase my learning for the benefit, not just of myself, but to motivate my members at home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And this really last question goes to Animesh, our other guest. And I would like to ask you how you would begin to train your club members, new club members who just arrived to your club about pathways.
Okay. Well, thank you, Madam Topics Master, for the question. Well, most of my new club members would be students. So, I mean, our club is mostly comprised of, not mostly, actually, all of it is students, students from different batches. So, right now I'm a third-year student, and the members we have incoming are mostly second year students or first year students. So first year students mostly would understand it if a guy like me usually goes around and talks to them about pathways or something like that, and especially when they are about to give their icebreakers. I think motivating them about this would require me to tell them how it becomes important for them to take up other roles in other spheres of other aspects of college later in their college life. Let's say next year they might be into student mentorship, right? So these things actually get into it. About pathways, well, pathways is pretty new, and by default they're registered into it. So so helping them understand is like telling them how and where to go to what. So it's just like giving them directions, right? I guess that's all about it. Over to you, Julie.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, Julian.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you for that very nice training topics for this session. Let's start with evaluation facilitation. In this case, for the first speaker, Brian Dutt.
Better unmute myself. How many minutes do I have for this? 4 minutes or 5 minutes? 4 minutes? 4 minutes. Okay. I'll get a couple of opinions from a couple of people to fill in for what Julie is talking about, and then I will do just a little part of a summation of something that I think that is useful for all of us to look at when we're talking to new members. So who wants to give feedback first? Nick, how would you like to give feedback to Julie? 1 minute.
Sorry, myself?
Yeah.
Oh,
what
sorry.
do you think be Julie's presentation?
Okay. Yep. No problem. Yeah. No problem. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Well, one of the things that you brought out very well was the perceived dichotomy of pathways and age or people's experience. And we have clubs here in England that I know about. There's one very near me where people have said, pathways, why should we do this? Why should we do the icebreaker again? Why should we go through this again? We've done it already. And it's strange for me because most of the people I've encountered through Toastmasters are open-minded, level-headed, and free thinking and intelligent. And when I actually hear attitudes like that, I think, no, that's terrible, because don't you understand that when you actually do an icebreaker again, as you said, you have more than 4 minutes of your life to share. So that was really, really important for me. And I think that overall, I think you did a good job to introduce pathways. And I think that, I would tighten that up a little bit. I would recommend that. But yeah, on the whole, you got your points across really well and clear. Thank you.
Oops, let me pick on Animesh again, because he's new. And let's get the opinion of what you thought of the presentation, because you're new and you're only, and that raises your only comparison. So how did you feel that Julie did in her presentation to you?
Okay, so I actually saw all of this, and the first reaction was from me was okay. Most of it is pretty much the uh, uh, pretty much the material we were presented, and I guess putting it into perspective using age, I think that was pretty good, because this particular thing about experience, I think I'll very well agree with Nick about this, because this particular thing about age, and then there's one more problem of credit, how credit should be considered, because that becomes a big problem of that people have been asking questions about that, which is why I think this was pretty much needed. I really appreciate Julie on that, and also ending on a high. Oh my God, I literally laughed at that very ending. Uh, I later found out, are you a stand-up comedian? On a personal note, are you a stand-up comedian? She is. Oh my God. Okay. Well, on that note, I bow to you, lady. Please teach me.
Thank you. Let me find my my comment here. The part I'm going to do is count.
Philip and Graham wanted to speak also.
No, I've only got 1 minute left. Okay, the part I'm going to give you is the challenge. The challenge for yourself is, I think overall in your presentation, you went by the stock presentation, used it. I think we should come up with one that doesn't have a lot of words on it. One of the points I want to make out, when you're talking about clicking on a button, I can't see the button. I'm looking at the screen and it's not obvious to me. Blow up the button, show it big, and show what it looks like, and then you begin to know. I mean, you can zoom out on that on a slideshow. The other thing is we need to start to tell the new members about keeping track of their speeches. And what you need in that particular thing is you need the title of the speech, you need the date of the speech. If you're a multi-club member, the club that you are giving the speech at, what your project path, project level and path are, and put down who is your evaluator. Because at some point you will get the VP of Education wanting that information. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for this evaluation of leading this fertilization evaluation. And now let's move to the second speech evaluation in charge of Graham Cairns.
I believe Mufid is now able to speak. So Mufid, did you wish to present the evaluation? I'm happy to, but it's, you've got the written one.
You can buy it. Yeah, it's okay, but I will not take your priority. You already started, so please go ahead.
All right, very briefly, there are a couple of observations that I would make about the presenting of the award. The amount of preparation which Michelle put into this was obvious. She had the plaque, she had the sign, she even had the little heart, which I thought was beautifully done. So I commend Michelle on presenting and preparing for this. I also thought that the sincerity which she showed was obvious, but from a training perspective, may I make this observation? When you're presenting an award, there's a certain sense of formality that should be built into it, because awards have a specific, I'm not talking about the actual plaque, that was beautifully done, but this lacked a bit of structure. was very effusive, but didn't have the formality that I believe an award should have. That's just a personal opinion, but when I've seen awards, I really like to see a bit of pomp, a bit of circumstance about it, and that was something that I felt was missing a little with this. But having said that, there is no doubting the sincerity with which Michelle feels about Julie. Mufid?
Yes, I may support your opinion. I want to say that. I mean, if you look at the objectives, you have done them all fine. But again, I would confirm what Graham said. Now, if you are presenting this award in front of an audience, if you take it that personal or that friendly, it might give the impact, might not give the impact that you want to give to the receiver, right? Now, maybe you see Julie every day, but when you are in an audience, in front of the audience, I think it should be more formal. Otherwise, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mufid. Thank you, Graham. Now it's time for the evaluation about the training topic. Please, in charge of Brian Dodd.
Well, the table topics, I didn't get going on. I realized that I was giving the evaluation. Everybody took the questions that Julie had, and Julie chose some very good questions in order to get around the roundtable opinion of what Pathways is all about, from the older members all the way to the newer members. She picked on Graham, and Graham brought out the training part of it because he'd just been to a training. So he had that experience fresh, and he knew what they were looking for or what the response was from this training. Mufid, you know, he's in so many different cultures from where he stands, and how the Pathways program is being accepted by new people in different countries and different cultures. Herman, I found, he did a great presentation there because he's anticipating. You know, he knows a little bit, but he did a great presentation on the anticipation of what he is going to be able to do with Pathways. I, of course, covered the history, but then, you know, I've been around for thousands of years with a red hat on. Mark covered the students and how he's using it for the students, and not only just in Toastmasters, but he's using that concept of what Pathways brings you. And I've done some studies about this, and yes, the universities are, you know, that is in there, that coverage of what they're doing. Nick brought out the importance of not only Pathways for helping him with club members, but helping him with his work, because that's the reality of what Toastmasters is about. It's not what you learn in Toastmasters, how you apply it when you're outside your club. And Animish covered the icebreaker. I mean, that was beautifully done. That's the one thing I always say is you want to bring somebody into Pathways, just have them do the icebreaker. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Brian. And I'm sorry, but I request now the report about the grammarian. Brian.
Okay, the word of the day, I didn't have to really track any ums and ahs because I think I only heard 2 out of the whole meeting. But let's pick on some nice words. The thing that stood out about Julie in her 20 minutes or so presentation was never underestimate a grandma. And I don't know what it says below that on her shirt, but I think that's, oh, okay. and reading is all part of storytelling. What can we say? When Michelle was giving the presentation to Julie, she started with, passion and end with love. And I was expecting to see a third little thing, although she did do the plaque part. I would have thought, you know, persistence. I mean, persistence as far as pathways goes, that's where Julie really has big too. And Graham, nay, nay, nay. Those old Toastmasters, and they're probably younger than me and Julie, that are saying that. And I loved Amish's, you know, oh no, it was Nick. We talked about diving down into the Pathways program, getting in there, get your feet wet, and that's the greatest way to learn. So that's what I gleaned out of the meeting as far as grammar goes.
Thank you, Brian. Now it's time to know what about the time report in charge of Philip Van Dyke.
Great to see you all. It's been a little while since I've been on, but it's been fantastic to catch up with you. There's a fellow over there with a shirt and tie, and it looks remarkably like Graham Cairns, but there's something missing. Well done. We started right on time, and the Sergeant at Arms at the beginning had 2 minutes, but only took 18 seconds. And perhaps there's some vital information that has been added to the introduction that may have been valuable. It also may have bought some time for Graham and others who are coming on. So perhaps we probably should take that 2 minutes. Of course, it didn't take too long for us to lose that 2 minutes, because we got to the President's Welcome by Julian, who was stepping in for Graham. That took up all of 4 minutes 16 for 2 minute presentation. Our word of the day was only 36 seconds for a minute. I took 46 seconds for a minute. For somehow we missed out the tech tips, which was 7 minutes, but it was probably a good thing that we didn't do that, because we fell behind pretty quickly. Julie's presentation, 20 to 25 minutes. It was only noted on the agenda as a 15-minute presentation. That took up, was within the 20 to 25, 21 minutes and 8 seconds. So it was perhaps that brought some of the confusion. Michelle's 2 to 4 minute presentation was 4 minutes 15. Now, it's a little bit confusing, because the table topics mastering was 10 minutes, but we started pretty close. There wasn't much indication of how long each person should be talking here. So Graham filled in 2 minutes and 3. Mufid was 2 minutes 20. Where's he gone? I wrote his name down. Herman, 1 minute 43. Brian, 2:15. Mark, 1 minute 9. Nick, 2:15. And Aramesh, 1 minute 50. Now, I was trying to send some messages to Julian and also to Julie that we really needed to finish off, and that was the last one. Of course, the next one was the last one. So perhaps we need some methodology of indicating that we shouldn't have any more table topics, because we've run out of time. Evaluation by Brian was 2 minutes to 3.5, or 3 to 4, took up 4 minutes 50. So perhaps we need to look at that. Graham and Mufid together only took 2:15, so that was a good job. And Brian's training topics evaluation was 2 minutes 10, which was quite effective. His word and grammarian role for 2 to 3 minutes took 1:56. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Hand it back to you.
Thank you, Philip. Now let's continue with the general evaluation. The general evaluation of Mark work. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, have you ever opened your refrigerator and there's 1 egg, there's some milk, there's a little bit of cheese and an apple, and by using your imagination and bringing those items together, you have an omelet, and you have sauteed apple. The Toastmaster and I have been in dialogue throughout the day. We had 3 people on this agenda, and that was it. However, as we began to get closer to kickoff, I took notes. Time check, 15, 10, 5. The timer also gave the feedback a moment ago. Julie set a tone. She organized us to prepare for a meeting. Additionally, the Toastmaster acknowledged all of the guests that were with us tonight. We established a word of a day, and we proceeded. I am not going to speak on the evaluation. That's not my function. The GE gives feedback on the proceedings, what was done well, what could be improved upon. I appreciate Brian's approach toward handling his challenge and making it inclusive. Julie did the same. She asked a wide range of people to participate, and that is the sign of a healthy, well-run club. Now, in order to have greater insight into potential changes, I found that the table topics respondents all dug deep into themselves to respond and to provide insight. This was a well-run meeting. Specific to table topics, however, I think it's very important for us to remember, even though we're online, applause is a sign of respect to the speaker. And let's not forget that. We may not be able to see you, but still, when you, body language, this is body language. The speaker needs it because the speaker knows you're switched on, you're paying attention. Julie, I loved your topics segment. However, the transition back to the Toastmaster, it was a bit flat. Make sure you establish an arc so that you are closing out the topic segment and smoothly segueing back to the Toastmaster. I thoroughly enjoyed that everyone came together, and I look forward to the next meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark, for this evaluation, and I appreciate the opportunity to be the Toastmaster of this session, and thank you special to Brian, because you support many roles in this session. It was a pleasure, and thank you, Julie, for all your knowledge and passion. And now it's time for return the control of the session to our President, Graham Keynes.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and Mr. Vice President Education for stepping into the President's role at the beginning of the meeting. I apologise again for my late arrival today, but I'm not going to apologise too much because, hey, I think it was, I was involved in something that I needed to be involved in. Before I do any comments about next meeting, can I ask for comments from our guests here tonight? Now, Nick, I understand you're looking for a club with time that meets your needs. I'm hoping we might be able to fill that for you. How did you find today's meeting?
No, I really enjoyed it. I think that the name GTO does what it says on the tin, really. I think that I really enjoyed the training topics, which was like, yeah, really good, really informative. And the evaluation when Brian put us on the spot and, you know, give us a minute on, you know, Julie's speech, and it was like, oh, okay. and that's really good because we need to be pushed outside our comfort zones so that we can actually improve. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think every 2 weeks in my time, Saturday morning, might be doable. So I think that like I said, I'm looking at a couple of different options. I got to admit, though, I've been up for about 24 hours now, so hence I'm a little bit bleary-eyed. But normally I would be getting up to actually come to a meeting like this. So I'm hoping to actually come 2 weeks' time and sample it again. And then let's just see what happens next month. And I'll be making a decision in November.
Excellent. We'd love to see you along, and try and get some sleep next time. Animesh, any comments you'd care to make about the meeting?
Well, I'm actually noticing this thing with online clubs in general. So this is my third online meeting, and it's been great so far. And I especially like how things get insightful at the very end, especially with how Mark pointed out certain things which we need to do. And also before I end, Brian, is it right? Hello, yeah, Brian. So is it necessary for us to keep somebody for evaluating the table topics separately, because this could really help. I understood this could really help everybody back in my club as well. So is it really necessary? Because I think this could really work, but like if it's a separate role or something like that.
It's worth taking away to your own club, Animesh. One of the things is that this club, being a club, an international club, is that we get experiences that are not shared by all districts. In Australia, for example, in District 69, which is my district, we tend to have a table topics evaluator who evaluates the individual table topics. I understand in District 73, which is another district in Australia, that doesn't happen. I'm not sure about in District 70 where Philip is, but the point is that we get to share this experience from different places, and I thank you for coming along, and I hope that you can take something from today's meeting away to your own.
Yes, sure.
Emin, how did you find today's meeting? Emin? Yes, you.
Thank you, Graham. I emptied my cup of learning before coming to this meeting, and now I think I'm leaving with my cup really full, really filled. And I appreciate I have Toastmaster Michelle to thank for inviting me to like your Facebook group, and I saw the schedule. I'm very happy. I hope I could attend again next week. Is that next week?
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's a great experience.
Thank you, and thank you for a delightful phrase. I emptied my cup of learning, and now it is really full again. I love that. I'm going to steal that. Thank you very much. One final guest, well, sort of a guest. Strictly speaking, he's a guest because he's not a member, but he's not a member because he's a mentor, and that's Darren Warmington. Darren, your observations on the meeting today?
Yeah, once again, a great meeting. Every time I come, I just love the format of how you guys do things. It's just very, very different to the other online clubs. I'm obviously, as I'm sure you well know, I'm a member of Netizens online. Definitely very different to the brick and mortar clubs. And, again, another great, well-run meeting.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, one thing we obviously have to do here is just see if we can improve and get some more members. Obviously, those new members that have come today, we would love to see you again, and obviously, we'd love you to join. So it's one of those things that we can certainly love to see you, and hopefully you will come and join us.
As president, I have to concur with those remarks. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, everybody, for coming along today. I hope you've enjoyed today's meeting. May I draw attention to next week's meeting? At this stage, there is only one person on the agenda, and that's me, and I'm doing my Remembrance Day speech, which is actually not a training-related speech, so I was reluctant about doing it, but it actually fits the date perfectly. The focus of this club should always be on training. So, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you look at the agenda and sign up for a role for next week. Julie, you wish to say something?
Yes, I asked at the beginning of the meeting, but not everyone was here, if we can publish this meeting public, because it is all about pathway, and we really need pathway stories and positive pathway stories. So if any one of you does not want, please say so now. That means
Silence gives consent, I believe, is the legal phrase. Congratulations, Julie. If you can arrange for this to be published, that would be a fabulous thing. Thank you, everybody. That is the bottom of the hour. It's time for us to end.